Welcome to English Insight Podcast. Learn English through story and real growth. In today's video, you're going to improve not only your listening and vocabulary, but also your mindset, confidence, and life outlook. Whether you're a beginner or somewhere in between, this video is carefully crafted to help you grow step by step. Put on headphones, maybe open a notebook, and get ready. By the end of this session, you will have learned new English expressions, discovered how future technology will reshape your daily life, and felt more confident thinking in English about the world ahead. Ready? Let's begin. Imagine this. You wake up one morning in the near future and instinctively reach for your smartphone, only to realize there isn't one. No screen. No device. Nothing to pick up. And yet, somehow, all your messages, notifications, reminders, and tools are still there, surrounding you, responding to you, almost like invisible extensions of your mind. Now pause for a moment. If smartphones disappeared tomorrow, what technology would replace them? What would become the new center of our digital lives? That's the question we explore today. And trust me, the deeper we go, the more you'll realize something surprising. The technologies replacing smartphones are not just upgrades. They are complete shifts in how humans interact with information, identity, and intelligence. But before we dive into them, ask yourself this: why are smartphones even disappearing in the first place? What made them so dominant for 15 years, and what has suddenly changed? What if I told you that smartphones are already slowly dying, and that the companies who built them are the same companies trying to replace them? We'll come back to this. Keep it in mind. Because right now, something remarkable is happening. The world is transitioning from a screen-first lifestyle to an invisible tech lifestyle. And to understand the future, we must step into technologies that will feel almost magical, yet they are much closer than you think. The first wave of this future begins with AI wearables, tiny devices that sit on your collar, your wrist, or even within your clothing, responding to your voice and gestures. They don't need screens. They don't need apps. They don't need your fingers tapping anything. And here's the crazy part. Some of these devices don't even need your attention. They anticipate your needs before you ask. But don't jump ahead. We'll return to why this matters, and how this could erase smartphones from your life completely. Let me ask you something. If technology could become so small, so intelligent, and so personalized that you barely notice it exists, would you still want to carry a rectangular piece of glass in your pocket? This is the thinking behind AI assistants with real-time contextual understanding. Not like Siri or Google Assistant today, but systems that actually understand your emotions, your habits, your schedule, your preferences, even the tone in your voice. Imagine walking down the street and your assistant quietly tells you, "You're running late, but there's a faster route if you turn left in 20 meters. No phone needed. No screen. Just invisible intelligence guiding you. But AI wearables are only the beginning. The next technology set to replace smartphones feels even more unbelievable until you remember that we already have early versions of it: augmented reality glasses. And no, I'm not talking about bulky VR goggles or gaming headsets. I'm talking about ultra-thin glasses that look exactly like normal ones, but project a digital world into your vision. Your messages float beside your friend's face while talking. Your map appears on the street as you walk. Your video call pops up right above your desk while your hands stay free. What happens when your entire digital life moves from a tiny phone screen to the full world around you? But wait, this journey gets even more fascinating. Because what comes after AR glasses feels like science fiction, yet companies like Neuralink, Meta, Sony, Xiaomi, and Samsung are already building the early pieces. It's the idea of brain-computer interfaces. Not chips inside your brain necessarily. That's too early. But external neural bands and sensors that understand your intention before you even say it. Imagine sending a message just by thinking the sentence. Imagine opening an app without touching or speaking. Imagine translating your thoughts into actions instantly. It sounds unreal, but remember, 20 years ago, so did touch screens. Let's hold this thought for a moment. Because if technology becomes controlled by your eyes, your gestures, your voice, and even your thoughts, what role does a smartphone have left? And we still haven't touched on holographic projection, AI personal agents, and micro-device ecosystems that live inside your clothes, your home, and your workspace. All of them are forming a world where smartphones simply don't fit anymore. But before we continue, here's another open loop I want you to sit with. What if the biggest companies already know the smartphone is going extinct, and everything they're doing now is to make sure you depend on their ecosystem after the phone disappears? We'll come back to this in part 2, because once you hear the answer, your entire view of the future will shift. And that's exactly where things get even more interesting. Because if you've been paying close attention, you've probably noticed a pattern forming in the background. The companies that once competed to make the best smartphones are now racing to make sure you won't need one. Apple, Google, Meta, Amazon, Samsung, they're not trying to improve the phone anymore. They're trying to replace it. And the question that should be echoing in your mind right now is, why? Why would the world's biggest companies want to kill their own most successful product? What's the bigger game they're playing? Here's the truth almost nobody talks about. Smartphones limit the amount of information a company can control. A screen is too small. A handheld device is too slow. But a world where technology surrounds you, with sensors, glasses, assistants, neural bands, invisible devices, that world gives companies something far more valuable: full-time access to your environment, your behavior, your attention, and your habits. A smartphone captures moments, but the future devices capture everything. And that's why this shift is happening silently but rapidly. Let's return to those 5 technologies we mentioned earlier, because now that you understand the underlying motive, the future becomes clearer. AI wearables weren't created to be cute or futuristic. They were created to remove the barrier of a screen. AR glasses weren't invented to entertain you. They were designed to merge the digital and physical worlds into one fluid experience. Computer interfaces weren't imagined to look cool in movies. They were designed because speed is the next battlefield, and nothing is faster than your thoughts. When you combine these technologies together, something powerful happens. The phone becomes the slowest, clunkiest, most outdated way to interact with the world. But we're not done yet, because the next technology replacing smartphones sits quietly between all the others. It's small, almost invisible, but incredibly powerful. It's what we can call ambient AI. This is the technology that listens without being asked, responds without being triggered, and adapts without needing commands. It doesn't sit on a screen. It lives in your environment, in your home lighting, in your room temperature, in your car, in your personal workspace, even in the subtle sounds or vibrations around you. Everything becomes smart. Everything becomes connected. Everything becomes aware of your presence. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how you often unlock your phone not to learn something, not to communicate, but simply out of habit? A reflex? An automatic loop? Now imagine a world where that habit disappears, not because you forced yourself to stop, but because the technology around you already delivered everything you needed before you felt the urge to check your phone. No more opening an app to check the weather. Your glasses adjust brightness based on the upcoming sunlight. No more checking maps. Your AR overlay shows the path ahead. No more checking notifications. Your wearable whispers the message in a natural tone. You don't go to your device anymore. Your device comes to you. But perhaps the most dramatic shift comes from something people rarely consider: identity technology. Smartphones today serve as your wallet, your ID, your personal key, your bank, your health monitor, your communication hub. So how can they disappear if they handle so much? The answer is that identity is being separated from the device. Digital IDs, biometric verification networks, cloud-based wallets, decentralized authentication systems. These tools are moving your identity from your phone into the digital air around you. You won't need a device to prove who you are. Your environment will already know. This brings us back to a question I left open earlier. What happens when companies don't need phones to access your digital life anymore? Well, the simple answer is that they shift from selling devices to selling ecosystems. And you will choose your future not based on a product, but based on a world built by Apple or Google or Meta, or someone who hasn't even entered the race yet. The new competition won't be about screen size or camera quality. It'll be about which world feels most natural to live in. A world where your glasses interpret your emotions. A world where your AI assistant predicts your needs. A world where your home adjusts itself to your routines. A world where the phone becomes a relic of the past, like DVDs, fax machines, or pagers. But let me ask you another question, and I want you to answer it honestly in your mind. If your entire life becomes supported by invisible technology, what happens to your privacy? Who controls your attention? Who decides what information appears in front of your eyes? Who shapes your perception of reality? That's the part nobody wants to talk about, but it's the most important. Because the future without smartphones is exciting, yes, but it's also dangerous if we walk into it without awareness. The innovation replacing smartphones will make your life easier, faster, smoother, and more powerful than ever before. But it will also redefine what it means to be human in a world run by intelligent machines. Technology will no longer be a tool you hold. It will be a layer over your life. And here's the final open loop I want to leave you with. What if the device that replaces smartphones is not one device at all, but a system of technologies working together, like a digital ecosystem stitched directly into your daily existence? In that case, the future is not about choosing a new phone. It's about choosing the world you want to live in. But to understand what comes next, and how these technologies will reshape your job, your relationships, your learning, even the way you think, you'll need to dig deeper. And that's exactly what we'll explore in tomorrow's video. Because today, you've seen the foundation. But tomorrow, you'll see the full picture. The picture of how your life will look once smartphones finally disappear.